Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about Git. In this video, I'll be giving an introduction on Git and we'll be answering two different questions. Number one, what exactly is Git? And number two, why you should be using it. This whole Git series is divided into three different parts. One is this introduction. Number two will be a walkthrough on how you can actually set up Git on your local machine, and we'll be giving it a try with a simple repository. And in part 3, we'll be actually seeing how we can push our Git repository into the cloud using GitHub. So let's get started. So what is Git? So the answer to this is simple. So Git is actually a version control system which is used to track changes in files, and this is super popular with developers. So remember the days when you actually used to name your files as like, file A-V1 or version 1, version 2, etc. So Git actually helps to do that automatically. It's lightweight and it's super fast as well, and it's really useful and almost a necessity for large-scale projects as a developer. So files here can almost be anything, right? So from index.html file to CSS files, everything is taken care by Git, and Git can track everything. So question number 2, why use Git? So Git can tremendously simplify our lives and make work efficient in a number of ways. So number 1, Git actually allows us to track our changes with history. Number 2, Git allows us to collaborate more efficiently. So no matter if you are working with just 1 or 2 people or 1,000 people, you are able to collaborate efficiently. And number 3, Git actually allows you to develop in a modular fashion. So we will get to this in a bit, but basically it allows you to have a lot of different features and actually go about it in a very structured manner. So number 1, right, tracking the history. So Git is able to tell us exactly what change was made and when it was made and by whom it was made. So if you actually take a screenshot of my sample Git commit that I've done, so a Git commit is basically a save, right? I've saved a particular change in a file. So in here it actually shows me I've made a commit, and the commit name is called initial commit. So on the left hand side you can see that the author is Harish, which is me, and my email is there. The date when I made this commit is there, which is Monday 19th of April, and everything is captured very nicely here. And if I want to go into greater details on what exactly changed, I can also see that. So on the right hand side is a very detailed description of what has changed. So we can see that 2 different files have been changed. So you can see that there is something called index.js, and I have added a line called console.log, and there's also another file below which is called package.json. So all the green lines here are additions, and we can see that I have added 11 lines here. Another reason for using Git is actually for collaboration. When you just have yourself working on code as compared to having about like 10 engineers working on the same code base, I would say the difference is huge. So Git actually allows people to work in parallel without any worry of overwriting the changes or modifying any outdated files. So what do I mean by that? So let's take a typical scenario before Git, we are using Git, right? So imagine you are working on a very cool project. You have written your portion of the code, say part 1 of the code, and now your colleague called developer Jim actually wants to write part 2 of the code. So the whole process looks like this. You are going to pass your latest copy of code to developer Jim, and you say, hey, here's my latest copy, I'm done with part 1, can you implement feature X, which is part number 2. Now you're stuck on waiting for developer Jim to finish his work, and then you get back the latest copy, and then you continue working on it. So you're going to wait for a couple of days, and now you say, okay, developer Jim says, thanks for waiting, I'm done, go ahead with your changes. Now you work on this and the whole process repeats again. So the reason is because both of you cannot work on the same code without having any kind of conflicts, right? So for example, you might be actually working on outdated files because developer Jim might have already implemented another part of the code. So these kind of inconsistencies exist without something like Git. So the whole process with Git looks like this. It's going to be super simple because all of you who are working on the same code are going to work in parallel, and we're going to use Git and its merge functionality to automatically merge all the changes together into one consistent version. So it's going to be that easy when you are collaborating with your colleagues and other developers. And at the same time, you do not need to worry about accidentally deleting each other's progress. The third reason is modular development. So let's say you have a great website and everything is working great, but you have a great idea to implement a feature and you want to work on the code without affecting the main version of the code. So let's say you have a website and you want to implement an amazing, feature, amazing animation, but you want to do that without affecting the stable version, right? Without affecting what you already have. So in Git, what you do is that you create something called a feature branch and you work on top of that. So here we can see there's a main branch, which is the green dots in the middle. So that is the stable version. Me, with my awesome feature, I'm going to actually branch out from the main branch and I call it a feature branch. I work on that separately without affecting any of the main branch's code. Once I'm very comfortable and I know my code is ready, my animation is ready, my code is ready to be merged into the master branch, I'm going to combine that feature branch into the master branch. So that's gonna really prevent a lot of inconsistencies, and it also helps to keep our main version of the code stable. Similarly, other developers like developer Jim, he's going to work on feature X, right? So he's going to actually branch out from the main branch, work on his feature, and then combine it back into the main branch when he's ready. So Git is really great in the sense that it allows for modular development of the code. So if you're developing features, all of you in the team can actually work simultaneously on different features at the same time without worrying about causing any kind of instability in the main version, because all of you are going to be working on different branches, and then only when you're really comfortable that your feature is ready, you're going to merge it back into the main branch. So it's going to really allow for a lot of flexibility, and it also ensures the stability of the code. So in the next section, what we're going to do is that we're going to take a look at some of the most common terms that we have in Git. So number one, repository. So repository actually refers to the project and the code that you're working on. So let's say I have a project with a couple of HTML files, JavaScript files, all this actually makes up a repository, and basically it's the project folder, the directory that you're working on. That entire thing is a repository. Next term that you would see often would be something called commit. So I already mentioned before, commit is something like it's an action which actually basically saves your progress. So every time you commit, think of it as you're saving your progress. Another word is called staging, and staging, you should be thinking of it as like a place where you can add your files and your changes. You push it into the staging area before you commit. So that's staging. And we can sometimes in Git we also refer to things as remote. So remote actually basically refers to your Git repository which sits on the cloud. So sometimes Git doesn't need to sit on the cloud, but you would have some remotes. So basically remote means it is being held in a remote location in the cloud, and you're synchronizing your files to that remote. Very common two terms would be push and pull. So when you push or you pull, you're basically sending and retrieving respectively your changes to and from the cloud. So that's it for the introduction of Git. In the next video, we will be having a walkthrough of Git and how you can actually use Git in a very simple repository you'll be setting up in your local machine. So be sure to catch that.